Hello, Scotty Animation, and this is my Atari 600 XL computer that I'm writing a game that I'm hoping to port over to Commodore 8-bit computers, the old MS-DOS computers, the TI-99/4A computer, the Tandy color computer, and any other computers I can get my hands on. Right now let me explain this screen. So I'm running AMCAP, which is a capture program that used to come with Windows a long time ago, and I'm running two instances of it. This instance is showing the Atari 600 XL computer. 16K of RAM, has not been modified at all. And this window, of course, is this is a USB video capture camera, and up here is just a text program showing what I'm working on. Okay, so the name of the program that's in I've got loaded in memory via, I don't know if I can show this, maybe using the S Drive Max here connected to the SIO port on the Atari. Atari's going to a track mode, take it out of it. I've loaded in this line vector drawing program, which I wrote. It's been a while, maybe a month or two, and I wrote this program to allow me to create graphics for the game I'm working on. And so this is what you had to do back a long time ago. If you didn't have access to resources, bulletin boards, or user groups, you had to write your own software and just try to glean any information you could from old magazines, Compute's Gazette, Ahoy, etc. Run magazine, I think, was the name of another one. Okay, so this is where I'm at with this. 600 to 690 is the save to disk routine for this drawing program. It's a real simple routine. It simply takes the number of lines and writes those to disk. That's it. So very simple. Can easily get it to run in BASIC on any of the computers I mentioned before. However, I want to modify this slightly. Another program I wrote, the main game used a very more detailed saving routine where the coordinates were saved as bytes to conserve as much memory as possible, because I knew the screen resolution was going to be that high. I was wanting that to shoot for a low resolution screen so it could run on like a VIC-20, and still kind of maintain the integrity of the image that I drew. So shoot for like a 160 by 80 graphic screen. But this routine right here, this first print statement prints, that's the number of lines that's to follow, okay, and it's a string. And when the Atari 8-bit computer, okay, when it writes that to disk, it's going to append that number with a ASCII code of 155, and it's going to write the number out as a string. So if this variable li is like 50, then it's going to write 2 bytes to disk. The first byte's going to be a 5, and the second byte's going to be a 0, and then a third byte, which is the end of line or end of the field character, and it's going to be a 155. Now that's fine. That needs to stay like that. because that's the, unless you're going to have a fixed length number, say 2 bytes 0 to 99 or 3 bytes 0 to 999, then you've got to have kind of a, you've got to have either a byte to indicate the length of the string or a byte terminating the string, so you know when to stop loading that string. So that's fine. I'm going to keep that like that. But the print statements for the coordinates of the line, that's going to take up a lot of memory on the disk compared to if I just saved each coordinate as a byte. So saving each coordinate as a byte, it would just be 4 bytes. That's it. Saving these coordinates as strings, in which that's what it's doing right now, then it's possible that, keeping the, let's see, so it's possible the X coordinates could get to 3 digits, plus a 4th digit with the line terminator code. So 4 bytes, that's 8 bytes, and plus Y could go as high as 2 digits, plus the terminator code, so that's 3 bytes. So it's 8 plus 6 is 14. My math is terrible. So it's 14 bytes compared with 4 bytes. So that may not mean a whole lot, when you get with, computers that have like a large disk storage device and whatnot. But when you're talking about the old Commodore computers with, I think it's 160K available on a disk, on a floppy disk. Tandy computers might have been less than that. I don't know. And the Atari computers, was Atari like 170K? I don't remember. But so I need to conserve and can compact the information as small as possible. And so I want to convert this line vector drawing program. I want to convert it to a scene creation program, which can also would be able to provide not only the information necessary to draw the graphics for the scene, it could also handle the graphics for like objects in the scene or characters and monsters and just anything. But also it needs to incorporate navigation control, because that's what I have right now in the game code. Let me see if I can pull that game code up here. I think the latest game is game 5. Oh, wait a minute. I think I need to. There's a bug in. It's either in LotDOS or Let's Drive Max, that if you specify the drive number, it can cause a problem. I don't know why, but I found a workaround by just using D for drive, because I'm only using one drive letter. Okay, so line 1700 to 1795, that's basically the same code we were looking at for the line vector drawing program. That's actually where I got this code. when I created the line vector drawing program was to just to quickly be able to create monsters to put in the game, just basically testing. Let me see if I can find the code for loading a scene. Slightly different. Is it 200? Here we go. Okay. So this is a little bit more complicated. This is the scene. This is the code that loads in a scene, and it's pretty complicated in that it's using codes to determine whether or not it's drawing graphics or it's getting navigation information, and also the description of the scene. So if the first, and I'm always using 4 bytes. Okay, so if XO, which should normally be within 0 and like 160, or well 159, then that indicates that it's going to be a pixel on the screen, so it's part of a drawing, line drawing. But if the first byte, which is X0, if it equals 254, okay, go to 400. Then it's something else, okay? Then it means it's a special command. Then it gets the next byte. If the next byte's 255, then it returns back from the routine. Otherwise, let me see if I can remember my code here. It's going to be, that's the description of the scene. Like if you're in the forest, it's going to say, there's going to be a string there that says, okay, you're in the forest. And let me see. If the second byte, okay, the first byte could send to this routine. The second byte goes to 440. What am I doing here? Second byte is indicating a direction. It's a direction you can go into. And let me see if I can find that code. Okay. It would be easier to explain this if I'd written it in Commodore Basic, because Atari, the way Atari Basic handles strings is a little weird. You cannot actually index an Atari string in the same way that you could in like a Microsoft Basic. You can define a string to be like 32,000 bytes. So if you did like dimension a string 255, instead of that being having 255 line or row indexes, it's 255 columns. So that's just one string that's 255 bytes, and Atari left it up to the users to determine how to incorporate their own indices within inside that, if that makes sense. So I'm pointing with my finger, and you can't see my finger, but here's a pointer. So line 470 collects a file name, and that file name is basically a direction that you can go from the spot you're in. And in a way, it's a little ingenious. It's kind of like a really, really simplified version of HyperCard and hyperlinks, basically. I misspelled list. I do not win the spelling bee. Okay, so in the main loop, if the user presses, N for north, S for south, east, or E for east, and W for west, and then the string will look in the slot to see if there's a file name to go north, and then south and east and west. And let me see if I can find this code. And if it finds a file name, load it in as an entire, as a scene. Let's run it and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is one file, and that file contains the tree drawings, and it also contains the description, and it also contains the possible directions, and the reason that it doesn't list east and west, I'll show you here in just a second. But like, you can hit N for north, and then and that's the random monster thing I put in there, so that's not applicable in this particular conversation. But let me see if I can find the code. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that one file, that showed the forest, it's got 4 slots inside of it to indicate one of the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. So it will, like north and south, it's got a file name that points to another scene file. But in the east and west slots of that file, it's got exit none.dat, which basically means there's no direction. There's no exit here, so you can't go that way, and so that's why it doesn't list east and west when you're in the forest. See how it takes a second to translate and compute the directions there. Another monster. Okay, let me break out of that. So what I want to do is I want to take some of this code and create a new line vector drawing program and convert it to a scene creation program, because I wrote kind of a simplified version of a scene creation program on a Windows machine, and but I want to write that on this Atari here and create the graphics and stuff from here. And I could use the same logic I'm using here, and a lot of it will be the same, but I want to expand it a little bit further and have more possible directions, and plus when it's on this machine, I won't have to keep trying to transfer files between Windows and this this machine or other old 8-bit machines. It'll be easier. to keep track of, I guess. And I want to make sure that I keep the logic or the method of using bytes instead of the strings, because I want to conserve as much memory as possible, and that way I can have as many scenes, objects, monsters as possible. So this is the end of this first part of the video, and and then more will come later. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Please give a thumbs up. If you like this content, please support www.scottyanimations.com. I'm on Patreon. I think I did that correctly. So just look for Scotty Animation on Patreon. There should be a link on my YouTube channel. So I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.